So this chart is something that obviously isn't any textbook. I came up with this, and the reason I did is I got frustrated because people talk about strategic competitive actions and tactical competitive actions, and they never talked about the strategy of competitive actions. And that is, strategy starts with what are you trying to achieve? And this is where I came up with this four-quadrant chart that says, what do people typically try to achieve? Well, let's start in the bottom left-hand quadrant. This is the dominate quadrant. This is where you have a relatively weaker peer or weaker rival that a company just attacks enough to keep them down. They allow them to exist, but not really be a threat to them. So as to say, they have the oxygen hose squeezed, but not completely shut off. I think a couple of examples of dominated competitors today are Sears. I believe that Sears could be taken out anytime that, say, Walmart or some of the other department stores wanted to, but they just choose not to. And I'll talk more about why they would make that choice in just a minute. Another example, I think, of a dominated competitor right now is Yahoo. Why does Yahoo still exist? I think it's just because Google doesn't want to go to the effort of killing them, because they're just not worth the effort. There are a couple of benefits to not killing your rivals while you're controlling them. First of all, it creates the aura of false competition. In other words, you don't look like a bad person because you killed somebody, and people feel like there's a choice, even if in reality very few people are choosing your competitor. And the second reason, which is similar to it, is it makes the market space look filled. It makes the market space look attractive, and so it may help keep new entrants out. But there's a danger to a dominate strategy, and that is, what if you lose control of the opponent? For example, in the late 1990s, Microsoft had an opponent that was really on the ropes. They were about to go bankrupt, to the point where the CEO approached Bill Gates and arranged for an infusion of capital of like $70 million from Microsoft to keep this company afloat. That company's name? Apple. So that might be an investment that Microsoft would like to have back, because obviously they eventually had the tables turned on them. Well, then the next block over is when you defeat somebody. You just go in and you take them out. It's hard to come up with examples of this because this just doesn't happen in big company land all that often. It's expensive, it's hard, it's bloody, but it does sometimes happen. The best case I can think of recently is, excuse me, Bed Bath & Beyond versus Linen and Things. In the late 2000s, Bed Bath & Beyond realized through through competitive intelligence that Linens and Things were counting on 50 markets to help them turn around their company. Linens and Things had been taken private, had been heavily leveraged with debt. When the economy went sour in 2008, they became very cash needy, and they were relying on 50 markets to keep their company alive. So what did Bed Bath & Beyond did? They hit those 50 markets with coupons all the time, and they killed them. Because as you look around, Linens and Things, in terms of a major competitor, is no more. And after it died, what happened to Bed Bath & Beyond profit? They soared. So sometimes companies do take them out, even though it's expensive and bloody. The top left quadrant is skirmish, and this is where relatively equal companies go at each other, but nobody's really trying for a knockout punch. And this is what I really think defines most competitive behavior. Nobody's really trying for a big advantage. They're almost like trying not to lose. And an example of that today is, I think, in the insurance advertising world. If you look of all of the car insurance and home and life insurance companies, they all advertise. Allstate, you're in good hands. Well, maybe that's State Farm. I don't know. One's Mayhem. One's Good Hands. You've got Flo. You've got the Gecko. You got Peyton Manning humming dumb tunes, and you've got my insurance company, USAA, spending a lot of money advertising in the NFL and other markets. Do they really believe they're growing the pie? The number of people are going to insure? I doubt it. What are they doing? They're just all trying to work at their little slice of the pie and not having it taken away. Who's the winner here? To a certain extent, customers, and to a big extent, the people that are running all their ads. So the last quadrant is that I call war. This is where big people go at it. And the outcome of this is you want a sustained competitive advantage. but it sometimes can be a weaker foe fighting for survival. And arguably, that's where, to a lesser extent, T-Mobile, but Sprint has found itself for the past several years. If you go look back on and think about it, who's been the one always to cut prices and expand service in the cellular industry? It's been Sprint, for the most part, sometimes T-Mobile. And these were the companies that were getting clobbered by Verizon and AT&T, and they feel the need to fight back, and they fight back the only way they can. When you have an inferior network, what do? You cut your price. But these are two companies that are fighting to stay alive. It looks like T-Mobile's doing a pretty good job right now. Sprint, without the huge cash infusion they got from SoftBank, they would have been dead by now. But they are fighting for their lives. But this is war. This is hockey gloves on the ice. This is when we're going at it, and our survival is at stake, or we're trying to permanently reorder the market. So I think it bears asking yourself, what is a company trying to do as it does its competitive attacks? I think most of the time we're operating over on the left-hand side of the chart. We're skirmishing, which is near peers, kind of just duking it out, but nobody getting too serious, or it's just dominating, just keeping your thumb on the company just enough so that they can never get up. One last video to wrap all this up.